All right, we are going to review the top 50 crypto tokens. I'm also going to talk about my portfolio recommendations. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm going to advise you. No, I'm not advising you. I'm just giving information, my thoughts. I study, I have opinions. I try to put them together, put them out here for you. Helps me learn by digging deeper for this video, and then your feedback helps me further. I appreciate it if you have evidence to the contrary, or you can build on some of the ideas we're thinking about here. Please add on and comment. So, here's the top 50. Obviously Bitcoin, if you've been following this, has been just killing the market. This is a Bitcoin dominance chart. This shows, the whole chart is 100% of cryptocurrency value. And so Bitcoin, you can see here, back in 17 during the last bubble, Bitcoin's dominance fell as Ethereum surged. And then other tokens came on. And then when we had the crash and when everything was coming down, at that time, I'll pat myself on the back. I said, now you want to, now that this market's going down in January, I said Bitcoin should do better on the downturn. That was true. Bitcoin gained market share. But when we got to here and the bottom was in, I was like, okay, now we may want to start getting cute again, right? Get into the smaller tokens. Well, what everybody said, everybody was like, oh, Bitcoin can never outperform the small tokens. Never. The small ones outperform, blah, blah, blah. Everyone, like that was gospel. Now everybody has changed their tune. They're like, oh, all shit coins suck. You should only be in Bitcoin. I think at some point this bounces around, especially Ethereum is awesome. I'll get to that in a minute. If you don't have much Ethereum, look at this chart here. Ethereum is due for a rally back against Bitcoin. But who knows? This bull is running hard. We'll see. Why is Bitcoin killing it? It's just simple branding. People know Bitcoin. It's been around. It's known as the largest. It's the safest. It's this store of value like gold. It's digital gold. People can understand that. It's like gold. Why is gold valuable? It's not, you don't have a counterparty to it. Doesn't depend on the government for its value. It's scarce. Oh, that's just like how Bitcoin is, but it's even better because it's easily divisible. You can zip it around the world. And it's easy to value. Well, what's the value of gold? Depending on how you measure, whatever, let's say 5 to 8 trillion. Well, what's the market cap of Bitcoin? Only 100 billion. So there's some room to grab market share if you think Bitcoin is digital gold. And then the news has been helping. People trying to get money out of China. And we're seeing gold and Bitcoin trend together lately. Is that because the market understands it? I don't know, but a few days ago, we had the stock market down 2%, gold up 2%, Bitcoin up 10%. And then they talk about it in the financial markets. Bitcoin getting mentioned a lot as an alternative, a hedge like gold. We'll see what happens, but it's been running big. Another big story coming is the halvening, the supply. New Bitcoin gets added to the market when miners process transactions. Every time a block of transactions is added, the computer that adds it gets rewarded with 12 and a half Bitcoin. This chart doesn't show it here, but starting in May 2020 around here, see this? This was a halvening, got cut in half. Here again, Bitcoin issuance is going to get cut in half in May 2020. Notice when the supply got cut in half, in August 2017, guess what followed and preceded it? Massive bull run. People think, that happens again. And we've seen the halvenings coincide with bull runs in the past because every 4 years there's a new halvening. Granted, there's always a Bitcoin bull run, so that could all just be sort of coincidence. But listen, if this is a supply-demand story, cutting the daily supply added by half improves the price. Again, it's another thing that people cannot kind of understand. It's easy to understand. You talk about, here's Ethereum's issuance rate. Looks pretty good, right? But what is the issuance rate? It's very hard to explain. Bitcoin, the issuance rate is written and outlined. Everybody knows what it is for the next 100 years. With Ethereum, it's not as clear of a story. The actual issuance, as you can see here, is pretty close, at least until May 2020. But Ethereum, and we'll get to Ethereum in a minute, the story of Ethereum is there's uses. People are using Ethereum for something other than store of value. Yes, store of value is a use. Just holding it and doing nothing because you trust that it's storing your value is a use. But on Ethereum, people are building banks and using it as collateral and all kinds of things. Get to it in a minute. So although the issuance, even if it's a little bigger, the usage of it is bigger, and the Ethereum getting locked into contracts reduces its available supply, right? So, but anyways, Bitcoin is just easy to understand, and it's the big guy to beat. And right now, people loving it. So now Ethereum, where's my chart here? The second biggest crypto. The story of Ethereum is really, what did I just read? Someone said about Bitcoin is, shoot, that was a good 2-sentence thing. Something like Bitcoin is just a store of value, whereas Ethereum is the banking system. This is DeFiPulse.com. These are programs or decentralized applications, or simply applications running on Ethereum that are doing some sort of banking activity, right? So Maker DAO, you post collateral to create a derivative called DAI, which is a dollar peg token. And this token, do I have a here's DAI supply. So there's $77 million of DAI supply out there. Velocity, it's changing hands. Does that mean twice a day? All of it is changing hands? Well, I'm not sure what this even means, DAI velocity, but you can dig in. What I do know is that DAI, as a decentralized dollar peg token, there's other dollar peg tokens. And I should just mention, dollar peg tokens on Ethereum is killing it. Should we get to that? I had that in my notes for a second. Bottom line is, DAI is a derivative to be a dollar peg token that's being widely used, all built on Ethereum. Permissionless, you can go and create your own dollar peg tokens. Compound finance. This is lending, so you can go there. This compound finance, you look at it, but it's lending. Something to understand, and I don't know that I've dug 100% deep as I need to in understanding how these smart contracts work. But my understanding is it's sort of riskless in that what they do is, so if I go and deposit, so right now I can take a dollar peg token DAI, and I can earn 11% a year interest on those dollars. Right? Bank of America ain't giving me shit. I can get 11%. USD coin. This is the Coinbase, Circle, dollar peg token. Almost 10% a year interest just for holding dollars. And people say, well, you have risk. They're not going to pay it back, and they're not going to hold it. What the system that I believe works, that is, I'm not going to say riskless. Everything has risk, but except for U.S. Treasuries, those are riskless, right? But what they do, a lot of these systems are, you lock up collateral, and there's so much collateral to back something else. Let's say so much lending or a derivative or something. And if the collateral shrinks to a certain point, they can liquidate the collateral to support your derivative, right? And so with the lending, the idea is that I'm lending them dollars into a pool, and if there was a problem, they could sort of sell and manage it enough so that I get my return and get my money back. I want to dig into this compound finance. Someday I'll understand it more so I can explain it. I'm not quite there yet. But anyways, this is the kind of exciting stuff that's being built on Ethereum. You can't build this on Bitcoin. Look at, where are these things being built? Everything is on Ethereum except for Lightning Network. What's interesting is Bitcoin on Ethereum is probably going to pass Lightning Network. In other words, there will be more Bitcoin transactions on Ethereum than there are on the Lightning Network. And you can see that here. Lightning Network, number of Bitcoin tied up, going down. On this WBTC, which is Bitcoin on Ethereum, going up. So, that's interesting to watch. There's all these other programs, Instadap doing some exciting things. Long story. This compound finance too. There's a coin called CDI. It's a whole nother video. Some of these I've talked about. Synthetics. When we get to my portfolio, I'll talk about that. What else do we want to talk about here? And Kyber. Should I get to these now? These are part of my portfolio things to talk about. Synthetics is one of these. You lock up collateral, as part of, I think on synthetics, you lock it up as part of staking and then you earn rewards, but then you can use your stake to create some derivative and you earn more rewards and then you go back and you got to cash in your rewards. And it's ridiculous. I think it's really a gambling thing more than a real investment thing. I put a teeny bit in to learn about it. I think it's silly. I'd like to get out. It might go up in price, and who knows? It could go up a lot in price because people love this gambling stuff. But to me, it's a little silly. But still, we're talking big number. I don't know. It's got 17 million locked up in it. Uniswap is just, this kid wrote a smart contract that is now has 17 million locked up. And doing trades, just sort of smart contract running on its own. Nuo Network, Dharma, these are other lending platforms. I don't know. There's others that may be great, but right now Compound is the big one, and that's the one I would test and trust at this point. It's now over 100 million locked up. It's been out for a while. They launched their second, V2, whatever, the second version of their thing. If you wanna stake or borrow, or what do you call it, lend, put money in and earn interest or borrow, I would start with Compound Finance as they are the leader. Kyber. So Kyber is a decentralized exchange. It's built into a lot of great wallets. It's built, it's my understanding is it's a decentralized exchange that's easy for wallets or other exchanges or different things to hook up into and share their pools of trading. And so it looks cool. If you want to get involved in this DeFi, you can buy Ethereum token, right? And MakerDAO is the biggest. You can own MKR. Otherwise, if you want to invest in any of these, it's kind of hard, right? There's nothing to really buy here as far as a token's concerned. Now, Kyber does have a token on its little exchange. Now, it's the smallest. It only has 3 million locked up. But I was looking at the volume here, right? So they were doing, what is this? 500,000 a day in transactions. Then it went up to 1,000 a day. And then look at this. Like, it just shot up to, over 3,000 a day. And I remember right here, I did a story on I think it was on this YouTube. I also did it on Instagram. Look at the increase in transaction volume on Kyber. This thing is amazing. And then it fell off a cliff here. It's not that bad. It's actually still here, which is still double from where it was a few months before that. But when it looked right here, I'm like, wow, if it keeps growing at this rate, right, this thing is going to be worth a lot. But that growth seemed to slow. And I don't know why exactly. This is what they started working with the WBTC. I think that drove a lot of this volume, and then people are just back to normal, I guess. So I don't know. Kyber's one that you can buy a teeny bit. This thing is so small by the time, and size matters, I think, with exchanges. So what are the odds of them making it long term? I don't know. But at this point, they look cool if you want to take a flyer and buy a tiny bit. Where were we? We were looking at DeFi Pulse. Anyone else interesting on here? Augur. I think Augur has got problems. I think, so Augur, there's the idea to have prediction markets. Anybody can come and create a bet. I bet that Trump will say, we'll say billions 5 times on Tuesday, and you can make a bet, and other people can counter your bet, and it's kind of a cool idea, and you can see how this could have some applications and uses. Augur was the first to market with it, and it's just not getting any traction. Maybe someday they do. Maybe somebody else leapfrogs and gets it right. So I don't have much faith in that one. Anyway, so now let's go. I promised you top 50 coins. Oh my God, it's been 15 minutes and I'm only on the first one. Ethereum. No, we were talking about Ethereum. So the value of Ethereum is, so this, I've shown this chart a few times. Okay, one box here is worth 100 billion. This is the size of cryptocurrency. You know, this is the size of gold stock markets. But you know what the mother lode is? Derivatives. Look at this, right? And Ethereum, derivatives run on Ethereum. That's why DeFi Pulse, derivatives are moving to Ethereum. That I think is the biggest story for Ethereum. But also the dollar peg tokens. There's a lot of use. So there's tokens on the internet. Sorry. In cryptocurrency, dollar peg tokens like Tether. So here's a chart. There was an article last week. Venmo now has less total volume than all the stable coins, okay? Tether is the biggest one. And it turns out Tether, apparently, is getting a lot of use. People trying to get their money out of China. You know, they put some money in Bitcoin, but they're also putting a lot of it into Tether. And I also understand that Tether is being used in the over-the-counter derivatives markets in Asia. I don't know how big that market is, but we probably use a T, trillions, to describe it. And Tether was on the Bitcoin chain, on Omni. It's moving pretty quickly. I think 60% of Tether is now done on Ethereum instead of Bitcoin. It used to be 90% Bitcoin. Now it's mostly on Ethereum, and more is coming, I believe. And then these other USD, that's the Coinbase token I mentioned. So anyways, these dollar peg tokens, and this is something, you know, everybody's been wondering, well, the Fed prints money. Fed doesn't print money. They allow banks to create money, and they do that with, you know, by easing credit. But banks haven't been lending and doing anything interesting. All they care about is pleasing regulators, so by buying government bonds. But now with crypto, it's very easy to print dollars. In fact, the pink one here, this is DAI. Anybody in the world now can go take their Ethereum, post it, lock it up, and then just create DAI, dollar peg tokens. It's held the peg. Let me show you this. I had a thing on. So DAI's price, right? Here's it holding $1. These are like all the trades. And you can see a few months ago, there was a minute where DAI started having problems. They raised interest rates from like 0 to 20% in a couple months. And now we're at the peg. And you can see here, it's funny where people were panicking. But DAI's losing the peg, they're losing the peg. And everyone freaked out. If you look at it in the long run, we're doing okay. Anyways, anybody can sort of create and print dollars now. Maybe this is how inflation gets let out of the bag, as the ability to create dollars is not just U.S. regulated banks. It's any kid with internet access. So we'll see. So I was on this. No, we talked about that. Okay, so so you can see here the volume of dollar peg tokens is really exploding. In fact, from Q1 to Q2 went from 10 billion to 30 billion in a quarter. Now, this is also volume, dollar volume, and not number of transactions. Venmo, I think, does a lot more transactions. But the total dollars, because people will be moving around millions of dollars here on Ethereum with these dollar peg tokens, as opposed to a Venmo, it's a lot of individuals doing purchases. So that's why the volume one. But there was also a thing here on the fees. To do this volume, total in fees was 827,000. Over the same period, the fees to Venmo were 150 million, right? That's why this is growing. It's a much cheaper, and, well, Venmo's probably fast. But also, over-the-counter derivative desks are not going to use, in Asia, are not going to use Venmo, right? So this is exploding, and it's exploding on Ethereum. And the other reason to love Ethereum is the biggest developer community, a lot of enthusiasm, and governance. I guess I'll talk about this as we get to other coins, like Tezos. One of the features of Tezos, a lot of people, they see when you talk about governance, it's like, well, what's the next upgrade in the app, in the software? How do we run the software? What changes do we make? What do we don't do? What do we change? What do we not? What do we update? What do we not? And how do you make those decisions on a? There's no one in charge. It's just a bunch of people, discussing. And the appearance in Bitcoin is, governance is just a bunch of people fighting, or people claim, oh, Bitcoin Core controls everything, and it's not an open discussion. And so the idea is, well, we'll have a mechanism where people vote, and then things get submitted, and if it gets approved with enough votes, it's on the blockchain and it has to happen, and like this sort of on-chain governance is what they call it. I don't believe in it at all. I don't believe in that sort of running a system by committee. Never mind committee. Thousands of people, anyone can vote. I don't believe that can work. If I someday maybe someone figures it out and I'm proven wrong, but until then, I would not invest in any of those. The best way, I think, to have governance in a system is to have a great leader. Vitalik Buterin is a great leader in that he's really smart, he really cares and works hard, and he leads in a decentralized network the way you have to, which is taking in, advice from everyone, finding consensus, which is what you need to do. I'd rather have someone like that, Vitalik Buterin, leading. If Vitalik Buterin comes out with something that's crazy and no one agrees with, and it has happened, it doesn't happen. He's not a dictator. He's a leader. And I think having a great leader is a better system than having a bunch of idiots voting. So anyways, so let's go through the other tokens here. XRP, okay, here's the thing. The token XRP, I don't follow it that closely. I don't have much faith in it. Maybe it does okay. They're under investigation from the government of whether there was security. In 5 years from now, when that case is finished and they determine that XRP is a security, I mean, who the hell cares by then? It's a whole nother world. And so XRP is fine. I never say it's horrible. Many people will. Maybe it is. But one thing that is horrible are the XRP army. The kids who run around commenting on every friggin' social media thing with, buy XRP, the standard. And the way I like to describe the XRP army are, have you ever met a kid who's like 16 years old and really thinks they know everything and they're really annoying about it? That's pretty much the XRP army. And, I'm not saying they're all 16. In fact, if you're over 25 and you're acting that way, you've got some serious problems. If you're a kid, I get it. I used to be a bit of an idiot as well. But these people are very annoying. Bitcoin Cash, it's just stupid. Run by Roger Ver. He is not somebody I would follow. I believe this is one that's going to zero, but I also now believe that shitcoins don't really go to zero. If anyone is going to zero, the number one shitcoin is Bitcoin SV. Run by a fraudster, Craig Wright, who pretends to be Satoshi Nakamoto. He's really, not only is he a fraudster and a scammer, and maybe these are connected, is that he's also just like crazy and a liar, and he's not smart. I mean, and this thing has a value of 2.5 billion. So as long as that's happening, as much as I want to make fun of Bitcoin Cash, I mean, if Bitcoin is, as long as Bitcoin SV is around, shitcoins die hard. It doesn't seem to happen. Litecoin is an abandoned project. It is just a token used by manipulators for, running up price, getting a bunch of idiots to buy in, and they sell out, or at least they did that for the halvening. There's nothing going on with Litecoin. It is not, again, will it go to zero? No, anytime soon. And it works. At least it's better than some of these other stupid things that I wouldn't trust 2 cents on. I mean, I don't think it's easy to steal from Litecoin. But anyways, Binance Coin, I like. I'm not allowed to buy Binance Coin. If you're in America, our government is protecting us from buying the most successful exchange in the world, run by its dynamic leader, CZ. and they really there's a lot of projects as we go through here that like, yeah, maybe the company will do well, but I wouldn't buy the token. In other words, you might want to own equity in that business. I'll talk about storage. It's sort of like that. Maybe the business storage, they do well and you own equity in the company, but I don't know that I believe in the token. With Binance, I believe in the token. In the long run, I wouldn't be surprised if the token outperforms the security on and I'm not, never mind whether the token is a security, but you understand if you physically have ownership share in Binance company, I wouldn't be surprised if the token outperforms in appreciation more than the equity in the long run. We'll see. But I'm not allowed to buy it. This, I would say, is good to have a little bit in your portfolio. But we're not allowed to buy it because the government's protecting us. That's another video I want to make. It's just every day I come across something that regulations are making it so that I either can't be entrepreneurial or can't invest, or they're doing some harm. It's just annoying, but whatever. Tether's still the biggest dollar peg token. What is it backed by? We don't know, and whatever, but people don't seem to care. The volume is going up. EOS. So I don't think there's anything interesting going on EOS. And listen, I used to say, oh, and now I'm going to get a lot of comments and people are going to show me all the interesting things that are going on. I don't even think I'll get a lot of comments now because I think even the EOS lovers know there's nothing happening. First of all, when I say there's nothing happening today, Tether went on to EOS, no volume. They got some stupid little games on that DApp radar. Who cares? Supposedly, and listen, if there is something interesting, I'm talking about launch now. I don't want to hear any more about coming soon. Okay, EOS has been up for how long? Over a year. Like, enough already. Show me the money. Show me the value, right? In applications, not ones that are coming. Speaking of one that is coming, Voice. They had this big announcement. EOS has a big announcement coming. Did I have anything on this? Okay, this is so. Big announcement coming. I'm thinking to myself, wow, maybe EOS is working with Activision to create some sort of gaming. Maybe EOS is working with, MGM hotels for some gambling. Then I would have been like, wow. And it was like, oh my God, they're trying to make a new Twitter. Are you kidding me? I mean, I remember when the web started. I remember it was always like, now FedEx allows you to check your tracking number online through the web, and this is going to change the world. And it's like, yeah, that was cool. It's easier. They still have that if you go to FedEx, and it adds value. But that's not what's changing the world, right? That's just a feature. So now this is this sort of thing to me, like a new Twitter. They're just reinventing the same thing that existed on a new platform. Maybe there's a few new features to it. It's like I said, like with FedEx, I can get my tracking number online. That's cool. Like that was awesome, and it opens up new opportunities of ease of use and everything. But the reality is that's not that revolutionary. And on one hand, I was like, how are they going to get anyone to go to this thing? Well, they're going to spend a lot of money. They raised $4 billion for I don't know what. They got a lot of money sitting around, and they're going to pay influencers to try to pull people over. Maybe they get some traction for as long as they're spending money. I would not bet on this with your money. Okay. So I'm not a believer in EOS, but again, hangs in there. Monero. So privacy coins. There's several privacy coins, but I'll tell you, there's one that looks interesting. What I've always said with the privacy coins, and now it's probably about to come. I don't know about about to come true, but I'll tell you what I think. There's this token REN I'm going to talk about. But what I've always said is, privacy will come to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so to own a privacy token, I think is sort of not a great long-term investment. There'll always be niche coins. There'll be some, I need privacy that does this, that, and the other, but lets them see this, but doesn't let them see that. And there'll be niche coins that allow you to do very eccentric privacy situations. But for basic sending a coin and making it so it's mostly private or whatever, it's going to come to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And right now, what looks really good is this token REN. So REN, now the thing about REN is they just launched the testnet. I don't like to invest in things until they've actually launched mainnet, like it's actually launched. So this may be a year away from where I would invest. Although I should say, if it looks really good, it's good to invest like a month or two before it launches. But be careful because sometimes a month or two turns into 6 or 8 months. But anyways, maybe you try to front run the launch because it usually would run at the launch. So you want to get in a little bit before if we like it. But the price of this thing, where can I find that? This is Bitcoin. Let's look at, where's my search on this thing? Pardon me. Hello. Ren. So this thing has had a huge run. So I would not, by the way, get it now. Do your research. Try to understand it. I don't know that I totally understand it, but the way it's going to work, I didn't explain this, which is it's like you can send Bitcoin and have it run through a Ren node or something, and then it's just a private transaction. And I think you can even trade, maybe, Bitcoin for Ethereum. I don't know. I don't understand it. But from what I have read, and the people who are talking about it, and the way they describe it as this it brings privacy to all the major blockchains, makes me think this thing sounds cool. I would study it. But it just, so it just had a huge run here with the excitement, the launch of the testnet. Would not buy it today. When you hear about something new and research it and the chart looks like this, you don't want to buy because you just heard about it because it came out in the news. I bet they got a year before it launches on mainnet. 6 months from now, this thing is probably lower. Unless if the whole market blows up a ton and goes up really, really high, maybe this keeps running with it. But, this is not an entry point. So I'm watching it for the future. So where were we? So Monero, so that's a privacy coin. This is, what I understand, a decent privacy coin. It's got a good team. And there's other ones. What's a Zcash? Hey, these things may stick around and do okay. But like I said, that's not for me. Stellar. Boy, the price has really been in the shitter. Even, I like to say I've been pretty good with predicting some of the ups and downs of, Bitcoin's price. I feel like I've done a pretty good job over the last couple of years. But when it comes, and even with Stellar, but I thought, just like I had said, Bitcoin, it'll be in the 3,000s. If you're fast, you'll be able to buy Bitcoin around 3,000. I said this, when it started falling in January, February. And I was right. Thank you. With Stellar, I thought, you may get a chance to buy it at 8 cents. Like it'll wick 8 cents. And we sort of had that. And then it fell apart. You've got plenty of time to buy it. In fact, it's below 8 cents. But it's not about pricing. It's about fundamentals. And I haven't been this excited for a long time on the Stellar fundamentals. Because this is the main thing I watch. Now, I could be wrong here because this is payments. And, someone was saying, well, what if all these payments are just people who signed up to earn the 1% inflation and each payment is 2 cents to these people and it's all doing nothing? Well, that would mean that this growth rate in transactions is meaningless, yes. But what if it's trade transactions from WorldWire and IBM? Or what if it's, I don't know what it is. And what is the dollar volume of the transactions? But this is all we have. And the volume going up is looking great. So, and if you look at this, now this is a non-complete month. Each line is a week, right? Each line is a week. And here we are sort of midweek. So you can see they were doing whatever the heck this is. Let's say 2 million a day. And then it's blown up and now we're at 10 million a day. And the pace, if you go over here to 1 month, you can see is still picking up. Basically, so it was at 2 million a day, and this was if we go back here, so here's the 2-ish million a day, went from here when it was 200,000 a day. So it had that 10x jump. We may be doing our next 10x jump to 20 million. In fact, now on this chart, you can see it here, posted a number of 15 million. 20 million a day, and it hangs there. Its volume has gone up by 10x again. And I think there was even another one down here. It was at 20,000, 200,000, 2 million. Let's go to 20. That's what we like to see for growth. Now, like I said, you really want to dig into the details of what these payments are. And I don't know. And I can't seem to get an interview with Jed McCaleb. Not that I've tried that hard. But Anyways, so, but this looks good to me. I don't know what else to say about Stellar, but I like that. Tron, as I've said, I mean, this Justin Sun who runs it, he's just a sort of a scammer. Um, I don't like him, you know. Uh, Long story, but I would not touch this. Cardano, another one I used to talk about, is going to zero eventually because it's just silly. They love studying, a bunch of academics trying to make a coin. And the thing I've always said, though, is I don't invest in anything till it's launched and decentralized. And they keep saying this centralization is coming. And then it was always, decentralization is coming when Shelley comes, which you can see here. Shelley has been all since through 2017. Well, where's the decentralization? Still not coming, still not coming. Now we're in 2019. We're still in Shelley. Well, where's the decentralization? They're always saying what they always were saying is that it's going to happen when we start Shelley, but they hadn't started Shelley. But now here it says it looks like Shelley's been going on all along. Or maybe this doesn't line up exactly. I don't know, but now when I click through here, oh, here it is. Now I'm looking here. So what are they saying now for decentralization? Now by the end of the Shelley era, Cardano will be 50 to 100 times more centralized by the end of Shelley, which apparently now, I guess, so in 6 months, it's going to be so decentralized, yet I don't think it's decentralized. Listen, if any, I don't know that there are any Cardano fans anymore. This used to be everybody's favorite. Listen, if you think they're decentralizing soon, I'd love to get more info. And maybe someday it will launch and be decentralized and they grab some market share. And I'd be happy to admit while they actually launch something of value. But I am not a believer until I see it happen. Leo, I have not been following. This is the, Bitfinex ran into trouble. Looks like governments seized their money. Although that's a little speculation of where exactly the money is. I don't know, from reading tea leaves. It looks like governments seized it while they're investigating. And this Leo token gets paid off with profits from Bitfinex, which is a profitable company. And either gets paid back through that, or if they recover the money from these governments, I don't know. I don't follow it that closely. That's not for me. Tezos I mentioned. I don't like any of these on-chain governments projects. Won't invest in it. Dash is, it's one of these Bitcoin forks that, I joke about. I don't actually joke. Litecoin is a deserted project. Like, no one's working on it. Nothing's happening. Dash is sort of maybe as useless as Litecoin, but there are people actually working hard on it. I mean, maybe they come up with something. It's just that they're so small, and I haven't seen really any successes. So I wouldn't bet on it. But at least, unlike Litecoin, they're trying. But still, I would wait to see something going viral before I invest in that. Chainlink is relatively new. I looked it up. I don't remember what it is, so we'll skip that. IOTA. They have a new way of doing a blockchain. Well, it's not a blockchain. It's a directed acyclical graph, if I said that correctly. I don't believe this thing works. MIT Media Labs talked at length about how this thing is stupid and will never work. It's not decentralized. I don't think it's not going to be decentralized. I think it's silly. Neo also sort of just a scam coin. It's just a database used to raise money. I sort of hate it. I love that it's only at $10. One of the first videos to put me on the map when I was doing this stuff, I came up with a video right after Neo's ICO, and the thing hit $50, and I made a video that started with, "Don't buy Neo. This thing is a joke." This is before I realized how people, when they had their favorite coin and it was going up, got so mad at me. I had 100 thumbs down within hours. I was so proud because my channel had no followers, and all of a sudden I had a lot of people who hated me. But I was like, well, at least someone's watching me. I mean, someone cares. People were so mad at me. Well, guess what? Neo sucks. Ethereum Classic. This is true for Ethereum Classic, and also sort of the story for Bitcoin Cash. To understand why a fork usually is not going to have any value, especially if they keep the name, It's like, it's one thing if you fork it and use it as software to create something totally new. Maybe you carve your own niche by definition and you get a head start by using that code. But with Ethereum Classic and Bitcoin Cash, you have this community, the Bitcoin community, or in this case, Ethereum Classic, you have the Ethereum community. You take 10% of that community and they go off to start their own thing. But they don't get, from the Ethereum community, they don't get Vitalik Buterin and whatever, all the top guys, Joe Lubin and Consensus, like all these people didn't leave Ethereum. The 10%, they take 10% of the value, 10% of, the people from the ecosystem who are not the top of the class. And it's not connected into every exchange like Ethereum is. And they have to start over with the idea that they're going to do the same thing as Ethereum, but better without the top people. I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? So I think it's silly to invest in it. Cosmos, another, I don't know if they even try to be an Ethereum killer, but the idea that they could, grab some market share from Ethereum, but it looks like, and I don't understand in Cosmos, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it, but it looks like if it works, it will work in conjunction with Ethereum. It'll sort of add features to Ethereum by connecting through Cosmos. It's not an argument to sell Ethereum. It's maybe something that does well, maybe not, but I don't think they're any Ethereum killer. NEM, they never seem to go away. I never hear of them doing anything interesting. I don't know how they remain relevant, but somehow it doesn't die. And if somebody knows that they're doing something really cool, let me know, but I mean, I don't know. Been around for a while. I don't see anything. Maker, we talked about MakerDAO, sort of the leading DeFi application, the foundation. And, they charge interest on the people who pull out those DAI tokens, of which there's 77 million of. People are paying 20% interest on that now, and that interest goes to the Maker token. So I don't know. That's not horrible. Ontology originally launched on Neo, so I just immediately thought it was a scam because why else would they launch on Neo? Apparently they've moved off of Neo and are supposedly doing something real. I don't know that much about it, but I'm endlessly skeptical because why were they involved with Neo at all? Like, that makes me concerned. Zcash, privacy coin, like I talked about. We talked about USD, dollar peg token. V Systems, don't know it. Don't know this one. Dogecoin, created sort of as a joke. Hey, here's a coin, and it's what do you call it? Symbol, mascot is a cute dog, and that's it. And nobody works on it. It like Litecoin, but they don't even try to pretend that somebody's like people with Litecoin. They actually think like somebody's working on it. With Dogecoin, they don't even try to pretend that somebody's working on it. It's a joke, but then again, people still buy it. I mean, what? I don't know. VeChain. Supply chain, people, there's a lot of people working on supply chain management with a blockchain. The idea that all the different suppliers throughout the chain will interact on one contract, one blockchain, one database, if you will. And it's, blockchain would make it easier and trustworthy for all these different entities to share some information, but not all, and whatever they do with a blockchain system. So VeChain's working on that. I think IBM is working a lot. If I was going to bet on supply chain, I'd sort of bet on IBM because they're already working with Maersk shipping containers, and they're working with Walmart with food supply chain. Like, I don't know. I would bet on IBM. Granted, it's not a pure play. If you buy IBM stock, you're buying a lot more than just blockchain supply management. And it's such a big field that VeChain could be successful and IBM successful, or they could both fail at it. I don't think you have to pick one or the other. That's the other thing I was going to say, too, with XRP. And people always think because I like Stellar that I must hate XRP. I don't. I think that Stellar could be very successful, and XRP could be very successful. Or they could both fail. I don't think it's one or the other. Just because they started off with similar code, this is a huge market. So it's not, one or the other. But I haven't invested in VeChain. Decred, I believe, is another on-chain governance smart contract platform. Again, I don't like the on-chain governance. Bitcoin Gold, all these Bitcoin forks that are just altcoins. If you call it an altcoin, it's not a good investment. It should be like Ethereum is not an altcoin. It's not alternative to Bitcoin. It's completely different than Bitcoin, right? Stellar, is this Stellar network. It's not an altcoin. It's a whole different, it's a platform, And so many of these are. If you describe your investment for a unique, exciting thing that's growing fast, great. If you call it an altcoin, it's stupid, okay? So anyways, Bitcoin Gold is an altcoin. Basic attention token. So I actually have tried the Brave browser. It's okay. I decided to, I've been testing it. But I think what I probably need to do before I have an opinion here is, I produce content here. You're watching my YouTube. And I also, use the browser. Maybe I should try to earn the tokens through the browser and see if the thing works at all. Boy, it's already been 45 minutes. I hope you're hanging with me. Qdom, another Ethereum killer. I'm not betting on any Ethereum killers. Huobi token. There's a lot of exchange tokens out there. People have seen the success with Binance, and so all the exchanges come out with their own token, and there's something to be said for it. You own the token, and you get discounts on the trade, but Binance is an amazing exchange, growing really fast, that really is trying so many things to bring value to their token. Don't think just because Binance token does well that Huobi is going to do well. Now, maybe it will. And maybe they'll just keep copying Binance really quickly, and they'll do okay. But I wouldn't take that I wouldn't bet on that. You go with the leader, with the winner, right? Binance, if you like an exchange token. Omise Go, Omise No. I finally gave up on this stupid thing. Omise Go, they got me going with apparently the parent company works with McDonald's, and they're going to do cryptocurrency transactions, at McDonald's checkout. It was sort of the story, and for some reason I believed it before it launches. That's why you don't invest in things till it launches. And, this is one of these just get a little bit, tiny bit, and hope we get lucky type of thing. But then nothing launched, and still 2 years later, nothing has launched. They got rid of the president of the company, and then so this woman Vansa is now in charge. And hey, maybe she's awesome. I don't really know what she's about. I just haven't seen anything launch. But she is the daughter. So some Thai bank bought Omise Go, and then he put his daughter as president. Hey, maybe it does well, but that's not for me anymore. They'll have to show me the adoption, right? Like show me the money, show me the adoption before I would buy that again. Lisk is another Ethereum killer that I don't believe will. Paxos, another dollar token that's not as good. KuCoin coin shares, another exchange token. I'd go with Binance instead. BitTorrent, it's another Tron scam. Fucking stupid. Pardon my French. Bitcoin Diamond, another altcoin. Ugh. Nano created a new way. Again, like remember I mentioned IOTA has a thing. It's like it's not a blockchain. And that one is ridiculous. Nano is like it's not a blockchain, and I can't remember exactly how it works, but maybe it's awesome. But what I've said, and I said this last year, is in 5 years from now, if it's still working and looks awesome, then I would take a look at it. Because it's not even just a new twist on blockchain. It's not even a blockchain, right? So how do you trust that? And how will anyone with big money trust it? So you wait 5 years. So it's been a year. And I don't know. I don't even look at it. I'll put it on my calendar. Look it up in 4.5 years. Don't know energy. Waves. I remember Waves. I didn't like that even when it was cool. Another Ethereum killer focused on ICOs. I mean, I would think, that's just boring and old. Yeah. Educare, don't know it. Pundi X making purchase of POS. I was going to say proof of stake. Purchase of sale terminals, like how Visa has like a terminal. They have their own terminals. I think that work with a card, but you can pay with cryptocurrency. And that may be a great business. I've heard there's some volume. I've heard some things like they're actually getting some business attraction, maybe, do your own research. But the other thing to think of, and with a lot of these, maybe you love the business, but is the token going to have value, right? That was something even with, basic attention token. Well, the browser is great and people are using, there's millions of people have downloaded the browser. Does that mean the token's going to do well? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but you have to look at that. And so Pundi X, maybe they got all these purchase of sale things going on and people are using the card and it's great for transactions, and then nobody uses the Pundi X token for some reason doesn't have value. You have to look into that, and I don't know. So that was 50 tokens. Yeah, how do you like that? So let's talk about my portfolio breakdown here. So Bitcoin, here's the thing. In this rally, I think Bitcoin obviously is going to run in this next bull run. We know Bitcoin is running. Then everything's going to crash again, and then whatever it is, 5 years from now, we start the next crypto bull run. Will Bitcoin participate as much on that one? I don't know. So is Bitcoin a 50-year story? Is it a 10-year story? I mean, another 10 years? It's already gone 10 years. Will it be a story 10 years from now? I don't know. For the next 2 or 3 years? Yes, and a lot of people are buying. So you want to have it in your portfolio, but, for me, if we want to sell at the top, Bitcoin for me is something I'm going to want to unload. But right now, 50% is a good number for Bitcoin. Now, Ethereum, I'm much more optimistic than a lot of people. And I've gone through the reasons why. And also, price-wise, it's been getting killed against Bitcoin right now. Now is a great time to even, dare I say, trade Bitcoin for Ethereum if you're not putting in new dollars. But it depends where you're at right now. If you're 100% Bitcoin and no Ethereum, now is a great time to get some. If you already have a ton of Ethereum, then it's a good time, but maybe you got enough. So anyways, I like to have these ranges. Also because things change. I mean, Bitcoin, I was saying, like I said, when it looked like the bull was started to run, I said, well, maybe we want to have a little less Bitcoin. And I did loosen my, tell you to have less Bitcoin now. But then the price went up so much, so whatever you had, the percentage went up a lot, right? So even if you had 45% 2 months ago, you now probably have, 55 or 60% because it went up so much. And everything else went down or didn't move. Stellar, because it's with IBM, and IBM has reaffirmed its commitment to Stellar, and they're working on this WorldWire thing, and I see payments volume going up. I think it's a decent bet. Especially, and the price has been getting killed, which is a good thing. The price is down, but usage appears to be going up. So I think that's relatively safe. Now, I have 4 others. So I told you about OMG I got out of. Storage, here's the thing about storage. It's this decentralized storage network system that looks really cool. I like the team. They've been doing this for a number of years. They're doing well. They keep growing. It's a great company. I would buy equity in that business. But the token is not integral to what they do. They've even said that, in their company information. Someday they may decide, hey, instead of us paying you, all of you people who are hosting, or instead of having to pay with the storage token, now everyone you can pay with DAI token, or some dollar peg token becomes the standard, or some other token becomes the standard for payments. They'll just get rid of storage and use that because that's not integral to their business. And so the token may do well for now and the business is good. And also years ago when I loved storage, it was like, I just wanted anything that's actually launched and works instead of buying all these dreams. And storage was one of those. So that's another reason why I liked it. Now, they're cool and I wish them the best, but I'm not really following it and I'm not a token fan for it. So NMR, there's been some things. So one thing I like about NMR, maybe the opposite of storage, is NMR, the token, is integral to the business, and the business looks great. NMR is part of this Numerai, which, let's see if we can pull something up here. Numerai, I guess just their website. They have data scientists analyze data that they get sort of encoded, so they don't even know what the data is, and they use systems and create algorithms to analyze the data to be able to predict the future based on the patterns in the past, to be able to predict the future. And what Numerai came up with, see what happens if you're so they'll pay you if you submit a prediction that works out well. But in a normal, crowdsourcing predictions, Well, if that's how you win, then the idea is, well, just do as many submissions as possible. Spam the network with guesses, and you're bound to be right once, and you make money. So what they did was they said, okay, you have to submit, and you stake value with your token. You stake a dollar amount that you bet on which one of yours will win. And what that does is, well, now you can't spam the network with tons of them because you're going to attach money that you can lose if you're wrong. And also, if you win, the more you attach, more money you attach to it, the more you earn back. So this sort of made crowdsourcing work a lot better by using their token. And then they've decentralized the token. They've fixed the supply of the token. And this system looks cool. And if you want to have a bet in, crowdsourcing, data scientists, AI, I mean, this is a cool place to be. And I just saw an article that Microsoft is trying to do something like this. And, I think Numerai is ahead of it, ahead of Microsoft, but I don't know if they're similar, but that might be a vote of confidence on this business model. And it's hard to get information on this NMR. This is another one that the U.S. doesn't want you to buy, apparently. I saw used to have some volume on Bittrex, and Bittrex got rid of it. And now it might still be on Poloniex. It's kind of hard to buy this thing. Like, there's not much volume, and they're getting kicked off exchanges because the U.S., I don't know. I think it has to do with the security issues. I don't know, but it's hard to find. KNC we talked about. Again, these are just a tiny bit because, listen, the odds of it going to zero or being illiquid are pretty high in the long run. Loom I like. So, Gods Unchained. This is, and I just saw my cousins, who are 10 and 12, and they love this Magic the Gathering. Where's this little video? So basically, Gods Unchained is what do you call it? Magic the Gathering card game on Ethereum. You own your own cards for this gameplay, and the idea is that they want this to go mainstream, and it's built on the Loom network. Let me just play this because it's cute.
Oh, tears. These are the only currencies I accept for debts owed.
So this game is supposedly open. It was beta. It's the next stage, and there's some people who think this is going to be mainstream. I saw my nephews, as I said, they love this Magic the Gathering, and when I showed my nephew, this game on my phone, I showed him this video. He was like, "Oh my god, I want to get it!" So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but so Loom is basically saying, hey, we're EOS. We are like Neos. Yeah, sorry. We are like EOS on top of Ethereum is what their sort of angle is. It's a DPoS system like EOS is. And I mean, I think somewhere they say that specifically, and I think they say it better than I do. Delegated proof of well, anyways, so Loom is a second layer solution, and you can get the token and stake them and earn interest on it by staking, which is sort of a way for you to make extra money more than the idiots who just buy it and don't stake it. I shouldn't say idiots, whatever, but if they're staking on a new token and you're not doing the staking, you're going to get killed because especially at the beginning, the inflation is very high. So make sure you get in on that. So Loom is something you can get. You do a little staking. And when this game comes out, if the game is big, I don't know. I would think that could run up the value of Loom Network and bring more action to Loom. So, and that's coming in a couple months. So that's a fun little, give it a try. And the price has gotten killed. Even recently. The news about Gods Unchained coming out looks great, and Loom's price is down like 50% over a couple months. And then LPT is live peer, this Decentralizing transcoding video. This is one of these Web 3.0. Like, this is like in 5 years. Like, maybe it's really working. It's such a huge long shot. But you can get it and stake it. And this is, again, you're putting... If it turns out that this is a leading video transcoding system in 5 years, this token is going to be worth a lot more. You're going to be happy. But it's possible that this just, like, never happens for many reasons. So those are just my 4 let's have fun tokens. Let's see. Nothing else here to do. So this is my watch list. I think I talked about all of them. Yes. Are we done, ladies and gentlemen? 1 hour exactly on the nose. For those of you who watched the whole thing, congratulations. Much love. Let me know your thoughts.